on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Review. It's the Online Sports Guys College Football Podcast, where we talk about the week that was and the week that is and the week that will be in the world of college football. And before we get into game action, right before we just started rolling on the show here, we were talking about, again, one of Marty's more favorite subjects of late, the Michigan cheating scandal, which seems to be growing just a bit and expanding a little bit past maybe just some sign stealing.
Yeah, when it starts going from people talking crap on message boards to the Washington Post, Pete Thamel, and those guys starting to put some actual credited stuff on there, and then
you think it might be a big deal?
Yeah, when the USA Today goes on somebody's public Venmo account, let me say that again, public Venmo account, and trace down a staffer who got paid to go watch a game. That's just, you should get sanctions just for being stupid, not just for cheating.
Sounds next level to me.
Yeah, that's above and beyond. There's a failure to control there.
It just kind of keeps getting messier, though. I will say, read an interesting article on The Athletic the other day where they were talking about most teams apparently do some form of this.
Oh yeah,
not to this extent.
Common.
Yeah, when you've got photographic evidence on the first snap of the Ohio State-Michigan game that a guy that's a low-level snapper is standing next to the defensive coordinator with a sheet with bodies making hand gestures, something might be up. Now, if you do it during a game, that's the course of the game. If they do a QB sneak when the quarterback runs up and does an audible saying pile driver, you know, if it happens twice, you know what's coming the third time. That's not a big deal. But when you got it from the first snap, and then when my favorite is TCU, Ohio State, and this is what I guess started the investigation. Ohio State's like, this is up. So they call TCU, tell them. TCU then comes up with a different way to do their signs. They kept the signs the same and they had people faking it. How did that game turn out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, valid point.
That's what the one that got me, because first I was like, I don't know, this sounds kind of weird. You know, it just sounds like something to make good jokes at other people's expense. But then now that you're getting actual reporters saying stuff and not just some people that are super fans posting stuff, it's starting to look kind of ugly. And, you know, it's tainting people's stuff because you see the guys that are in the NFL from the rivalry where Hutchinson said, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah. That's the northern version of bless your heart. It sounds nice, but implies something else completely. And then when DeJuan Jones actually went on the record with it and said, you know, yeah, we saw that was going on. It was kind of disheartening. It's just, you know, play football, man up.
Yeah.
Some interesting football action this week, involving most of the teams. Probably the biggest game of the week. And we kind of whiffed on this one last week, guys, when we were talking about it. Kansas gets the win over Oklahoma 38-33 in a weather-delayed game in Lawrence, Kansas. Impressive win for the Jayhawks.
That was unbelievable. I saw some of that in the tailgate lot of the World Series. I want to know, do you think that goalpost is still in the lake?
Probably.
Of course it is. And I think Oklahoma's still trying to figure out how to stop Devin Neal.
Yeah. The coordinator in charge of that might be in that lake too soon.
Yeah. But, you know, when I was watching the game, I didn't think Oklahoma played that bad. I just think Kansas raised their level throughout the game. And, you know, now Oklahoma is really in a precarious spot because, you know, they came out flat after coming off a bye week after the Texas win, but they still won the game over UCF. And I thought they played well against Kansas. Kansas played better and next level. And really they had all the momentum there, being in Lawrence, the rock and roll atmosphere at KU Memorial Stadium. But OU is in a very precarious spot right now because we thought this was the dominant team now in the Big 12. Well, they've got a loss, and now they're going to Stillwater to play Oklahoma State in what looks to be the last Bedlam game. You don't think they're going into a hornet's nest?
Oh, there's going to be so much juice in that game. I'm probably going to feel that down here in North Texas.
Yeah, you're going to feel the noise from Stillwater.
That's gonna be. I want to see like the guy. I want to see like how much the ground is shaking. I want to see if it registers on the earthquake scale at all.
And anybody who's been to Boone Pickens Stadium knows that it's tight quarters, and the noise just reverberates down on the field.
It's got arena football feeling of just the intensity and the loudness and people being on top of you. I don't know if you heard Kansas's coach afterwards. He's a little bit fired up. He had some comments about people calling them a basketball school, and I'm not going to quote exactly what he said. I'll just say it refers to a kissing and something behind him.
Yeah, I think that all came out of a comment made by Steve Smith Sr. on ESPN's Game Day Saturday morning. And
correct.
Travels, because the comment was made regarding the North Carolina State Clemson game. It wasn't even made regarding Kansas.
Yeah, but there's a couple of feel-good stories in college football this year, and Kansas is one of them. The fact that they've put themselves in a position to at least compete for the Big 12 title is remarkable to me, knowing where this program was, and a big salute to Lance Leipold for what he's done when he got to Lawrence. Now they got to figure out if they can keep him, because Michigan State is starting to sniff his availability at Kansas, and whether he'll move on to East Lansing. But we just got through talking about Michigan. I think most people feel Harbaugh is probably going to move on to the NFL if an opportunity there. So Michigan might even look into Lance Leipold. There's going to be some big time jobs open up, and the AD of Kansas are going to have to twist some arms with some donors if they want to keep him. He deserves a big payday. Right.
Oh yeah, I mean, what he's done this year. I like to see a bowl game where you got two teams that weren't expected to be good being good.
Well,
like that. The How Do You Like Me Now bowl, maybe.
This was better last year in Leipold's.
Oh yeah.
And you're talking about a program that was arguably, if not the worst, one of the 5 worst programs in college football, just as recently as 3 years ago.
Yeah, because they made stupid hires. Mm-hmm. And there was a certain AD there that just is clueless. But
when was the last time they won? Like Mangino?
The Mangino era, but
Youngstown guy
ago. Yeah. But KU is starting to make some commitment to football, financial commitment. I know they're going to totally redo the stadium, which, as I was watching that game, I did a recruiting trip there when I was in high school, and KU Memorial Stadium looks the same now as it did in 1984, which in this era of college football might be a little bit of an issue. But I know they're starting to make a financial commitment to football. I got to think, this helps Bill Self's basketball program when the football program is thriving like this. So I'm sure there's some help along the way there. So, I'm happy to see Kansas finally matter in football.
Another surprising game last night in the ACC. Georgia Tech jumps up and bites North Carolina in the rear end. 46-42 Tech with a win in what ended up being a pretty crazy game.
All right. I saw this posted on Twitter or the X, depending on if you care that they changed the name.
Twitter X.
Georgia Tech has won every other game.
Yep.
Yeah, they're the most schizophrenic team in college football.
But they are winning only their even numbered games. So their next even numbered games are Clemson and Georgia. If this pattern keeps up, I'm going to go talk to the guy that posted that and ask him for some lottery numbers.
Please, because I want to know that as well.
I I can't figure them out.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Clemson on down the road, but that could be winnable. Georgia, if that happens, then yeah, we
Good
need to
Lord.
play the lottery.
Yeah.
I'm tracking down the guy that posted that initially, and I'm going to ask him for a lot of advice.
And part of
Ask him to borrow his crystal ball.
but not Cristobal.
That too.
Both of
What
those
does it
things are
say?
sketchy.
But what does this say about North Carolina? I mean, that team was in a position to make some kind of noise nationally, and then they lay an egg against Virginia at home, and now they go on the road at Atlanta, which say what you want to say about Bobby Dodd Stadium, but it's not the big den that scares away teams, and they put up some offensive numbers, but they couldn't stop Georgia Tech. There is something to this even game thing with
God,
Tech.
you look at the box score, and they only scored in the even quarters. You dropped 24 in the second and 22 in the fourth. Jesus. And then goose eggs for the first and third. There's a numerology thing going on here. I'm telling you.
So next year is an even numbered year. Is Georgia Tech a contender for the national title?
I don't know. Maybe it'll flip to an even year. They're only going to do good on odd games.
Maybe if the numerology holds, that could be a thing.
I know nothing about numerology, and nor am I endorsing anything.
Speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, they took care of business Saturday in the world's largest cocktail party, an easy win 43-20 over the Florida Gators. Big game for Carson Beck, 315-yard passing, 2 touchdowns. Georgia got behind 7-0 and then said, oh, wait, we need to play. No looking back. Game over, man. Game over.
To me, I was a fluke drive by Florida. I mean, this game had blowout written all over it before the kickoff. And especially when Georgia started their first offensive possession, you just saw that how much better talent they were on the field. And it didn't really matter if Brock Bowers wasn't there. I mean, Ladd McConkey comes in and fills the void just as admirably, and just proves that Kirby Smart has got talented players and on his second team, on his third team, and there's really very little drop off when they get in, which makes them a favorite to win the third national title in a row.
Yeah, when you got one of your best receiving threats gone, and you still put up 315 and 2 touchdowns. Jesus.
Yeah. At the end of the day, to quote Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and that ain't happening until somebody beats Georgia. It's them and everybody else.
I do think they have a test coming up next weekend, which I'm sure we'll talk down the road about.
Indeed, we will. Marty, your Ohio State Buckeyes with a pretty solid win, 24-10 over Wisconsin up in Madison. Nothing particularly flashy here other than Travion Henderson returning and putting up 162 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Yeah, I got a little nervous about Kyle McCord getting hurt during that game, but he seems to be okay. They're already down one quarterback, so that made me a little nervous. But they played consistently, and I wish fans would give McCord a little bit more credit for what he's doing. They're kind of, as an Ohio State fan myself, you're kind of spoiled the last few years with the quarterback play, and people got to realize this kid's a first-year starter.
Oh yeah, not everybody's capable of putting 62 points up every single week. It just doesn't.
And he also has the exact opposite as far as offensive tackle play goes. He went from Ohio State went from having 2 guys that got drafted and that are starting in the NFL to 2 guys that should be depth pieces on a Big Ten team.
I'll blow through.
Ohio State to me has got the best player in the country, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, it's not even close. That's insane.
I mean, the game he had against Wisconsin just solidifies to me he's a Heisman Trophy favorite. And if I had a vote, I'd be voting for him unless he gets hurt. To me, he's the best player on the field and in the country right now.
Hands down.
helps balance things out. I'll go through these next three games here, kind of all together. Florida State with an easy win, 41-16 over Wake Forest. Not much to say there other than big numbers for Jordan Travis. Washington cruises 42-33, an easy win over the Stanford Tree.
It wasn't that easy of a win. I mean, Stanford played really well and had a chance to pull off the upset. They just had a dropped fourth down conversion late in the game. I really like what Stanford is doing right now. I mean, they've really latched on to this new coach. I just wish they had some kind of support internally. That was an embarrassment, the crowd that they had for that game at the farm. And Washington went in there with no atmosphere at all. And I thought Stanford played out of their mind. I don't think it was that easy of a win for Washington. But I really like what Stanford's doing. And I think they're going to be really pesky in the ACC in the future.
Disappointing game to talk about coming up next. Oregon gets the 35-6 win over Utah. I think, guys, we all thought this was going to be a close game and a challenge. Yeah. It wasn't.
I couldn't have been more wrong on my pick from last week.
Yeah. Well, Oregon dominated the both lines, both offense and defensive line, which I kind of surprised me. But Bo Nix is playing out of his mind right now, and so was Oregon. I mean, that defense, shut down. I thought it was a pretty good Utah offense, and to do it in Salt Lake when it's 35 degrees and the stadium's rocking. Great win for Oregon.
It kind of looked like they're previewing the Big Ten play because of all the Pac-12 teams. Utah is the most Pac-10iest of all of them, and they went in there and handled business.
Yes, they did. Bo Nix in his 11th year and playing like a grizzled veteran, putting up big numbers. A couple other games here of note. Arizona gets the win over Oregon State. Oregon State came into the game ranked number 11. But Jedfish and the Wildcats moved to 5-3 with a win. Talk about an improvement.
Well, they're getting great quarterback play right now. Arizona is, and it's hard to win down in the desert at Tucson. And I thought Oregon State was really good, and they still are. But Arizona just Noah Faletta is the quarterback I was trying to think of. You got to put him now with the other quarterbacks in the Pac-12 with Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and the rest of that outstanding group of QBs in that league. You got to put him on that list now. He's just a sophomore too. So big things are going to happen for Arizona when they get in the Big 12.
Yeah, they're not the doormat they used to be, and the Big 12 is going to be wide open next year.
And we were talking about the two Pac, or otherwise known as the Pac-12 teams, two of them Los Angeles teams playing. UCLA with a solid 28-16 win over Colorado.
How about that? Did you see Sanders' kid got a targeting call?
Yeah.
That was horrible. Did you guys see that at all?
Yeah, I saw it this morning.
It didn't look that bad. I was wondering to myself, did he get that call for the hit or for acting like an ass afterwards?
That's a good question.
Because he's sitting there.
It looked like to me the shoulder hit him before the helmet did.
Yeah, it looked like a standard hit. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that hit. I thought he looked like a D-bag celebrating afterwards. You're losing.
Yeah,
chill out, dude.
Yeah,
unless you pick it and take it to the house, calm down.
Yeah,
and I really think right now Chip Kelly's influence is now fully on UCLA. He's got his players now. And who would have thought UCLA was a team that played, would get after you, roll in the mud with you in the trenches. They've always been a finesse team, and they were rolling in the mud with Colorado, and Colorado just was out physicaled in that game. And, Colorado just, has some good skill position players, next level skill position players, but when it counts down in the trenches, they're lacking right there. And I was really impressed at how UCLA, which I thought has always been a finesse program, is becoming more and more of a physical program, and that's going to serve them well in the Big Ten.
The only problem with their finesse, though, is I don't know if you saw the special teams play. The guy's going for a block. He's back there in plenty of time, and he just doesn't hit the ball, and he ends up hitting the holder. I mean, all he had to do was lean to his right, and he would have just completely engulfed that ball. Felt bad for that kid. I'm not saying his name because he's getting picked on already, and it's gonna be worse tomorrow when they go over the film.
Talked about the other Los Angeles team, which has been in somewhat of a death spiral the last couple of weeks. USC did get the win over Cal 50-49, but part only because Cal went for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game and did not get it.
No. And speaking of not getting it, USC is not getting it on defense. I mean,
did the entire OU defense transfer when Riley went?
I really don't know. But the guy in charge did. And when is it? Well, it's Southern Cal. I mean, I don't know how active their alumni is. They've got some pretty deep-pocketed alumni. I know that, but are they going to be like OU fans where like, what's the deal with the defense here? You got to make a change. You're
in a great recruiting area for linemen on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
In all honesty, you have such a big area. You have a ton of Polynesian talent, like in your backyard. Yeah, you can get a lot of space eater guys. You should not be getting hammered that badly on the line.
Well, think about great defensive players that have played at Southern Cal and how embarrassed they are, I'm sure. And I'm sure they have some influence within the athletic department.
They're probably not donating right now.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said last week, this is what OU fans felt when Lincoln Riley was the head coach. Fantastic offense, can score it well, just can't stop anybody. It's costing them on the win-loss total. So yeah. And how about starting the game with a protest and forcing people off the field? I mean, it's Cal Berkeley. I mean, it's almost like it should be a weekly occurrence.
Real quick here before we wrap things up here in the first block of the show, I want to talk about something we mentioned very, very quickly at the top of the block here. North Carolina State beat Clemson yesterday, 24-17, which put Clemson at 4-4 on the season. And it's the third straight season that Clemson has gotten progressively worse. And I kind of put this question out there on our text chain yesterday. Are we seeing the beginning of the end of Div.II here at Clemson?
Ohio State broke him.
Well, I'll always go down as one of the biggest defenders of Div.II because I always believed in his coaching philosophy, and I've always believed in how he treats his players and the message he sends to those guys. But I think a couple of things going on at Clemson from the outside looking in is I just don't think the connection is there between Garrett Riley, his new OC, and the players that he inherited. And I just don't see that gelling at all. It seems to be trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And I've always credited with Div.II with this as the type that recognizes good coordinators and lets them do their job. And I just don't see how it's working. The other thing is you got to change with the times. And as great as Div.II is, as far as getting players, letting his coordinators do their jobs, and really what he's done for that program, he's just not changing with the times. And he's letting them know in the press that, we don't need transfer portal. We don't need this. We don't need that. Well, in this era of college football, you're going to have to look into those type of things. And you're going to have to realize that these guys are getting paid now. And, which I don't think that's a problem with Clemson. I just think it's more the transfer portal. He's so old school, where the fact that he has guys that got to earn their right to get up to the starting be on the starting team. And that's just not the case anymore. Those guys will leave you.
Yeah, you just need to spring. I mean, you don't have to go completely overboard like you saw a few teams do this year, but you got to sprinkle a little bit in to accent what you have. And I agree
Right.
with what you said with their coordinator. They definitely need one of the things that's often overlooked is culture, and it just seems like that OC is not a good fit for the culture.
And I also think it runs a little deeper, Phil. I'll be real quick here at Clemson because I really think they're looking for an exit plan with the ACC. And I think that's kind of affecting things within the culture of the athletic program at Clemson.
Mhm.
I think they're looking for avenues to move on to a different league. And I think that has a lot to do with
Distracted.
yeah, the distraction of that is not helping.
I'll leave it with this here as we kind of wrap things up. The question I have is one we just talked about is Dabo not changing with the times, but in terms of Garrett Riley, is that really the problem? They were that bad on offense. Actually, they were worse on offense last year and the year before. If you're going to be bad 3 years in a row on offense, is it maybe the system as opposed to the coach?
Well, the system is going to be whoever the OC is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how it is at Clemson. And Garrett Riley has a system. Does it fit with the recruits that he inherited? I don't think so. He's going to have to bring his type of players in. Now, are those type of players going to come to Clemson? That, I mean, has the shine of the Tiger Paw kind of dulled now with high school kids? I mean, that's the thing.
They're just also not having a third generational quarterback in a row.
Well, that helps.
Probably gets you a little bit behind as well.
All right, guys, why don't we put a wrap or a bow here on the first half of the show? When we come back in the second half, we're going to go through everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget. Plus, we'll look ahead at some of the games that you can look out for in the upcoming week, the first week of November. All that and more when we return for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. FOOTBALL. College football version here with the college football review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with two O's, but football with a U, FUTBOL, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports, do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here.
Thanks for sticking around, folks. You have made it to the second half of the show. This is the OSG Sports College Football Podcast, otherwise known as The Review, featuring us, the online sports guys, Brother Marty at below, at least on my view here, Brother Welke above, and me, OSG Phil, in the middle. We are talking college football, and it's a big week next week. We're into November, and that's when we start seeing some rivalry games, arguably none bigger than a game we talked about in the first half of the show, and that's Bedlam in Oklahoma. Oklahoma visits Oklahoma State for arguably the last time as members of the Big 12. Guys, is this going to be chaos encapsulated?
It's going to be on the Richter scale.
Well,
The place is going to be insane.
for me, for me personally, another one of my childhood rivalries is ending. OU and OSU. The fact that it's in Stillwater and the OU Sooners have dominated this series um, in such a way, I think plays into it. It's going to be the Bedlam is Bedlam times 10 when you get to Stillwater. And the way OSU is playing now, I mean, after that loss to South Alabama, that seems to be the splash of cold water that Mike Gundy needed to get the boys focused, because they've been a much different football team, and a very good one too. And I think it would be nothing more than spectacular for Cowboy alum and fans in general that if this is the last game, that OSU gets the win.
Marty, we are all
Yeah.
about the cost of getting in the door for football games here. And I want to tell you
$400. Jeez.
$400 just to get into T-Boone Pickens Stadium to see that game. More than
$400 now. After one, everybody's going to see what happened this week with Oklahoma. They're going to smell blood in the water. That's going to go up.
It's way more than double the price of any other game on the board this week. And there are a few interesting ones, including an SEC matchup, which definitely will decide the SEC East. And it's an intriguing game on a couple of different levels. Currently number 16 Missouri Tigers travel to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. And ordinarily, that would be a game that you look at and was like, oh, yeah, whatever. That's going to be an easy one. But Missouri's played pretty well this season.
Yeah, 7-1, 3-1 in the SEC. Ooh. Yeah, it's another one of those "how do you like me now" teams where they're normally a doormat at this point of the season, and then they're looking good.
I don't think the Missouri team is going to be the type that's going to be in awe of Sanford Stadium either, and the fact that they're playing the two-time defending national champions. I think Eli Drinkwitz has done a great job of making Missouri matter on the football field. Because it's always been a program that's been, kind of good, but just, no one really recognized them. They've been a program that kind of a Rodney Dangerfield type of football program, just that doesn't get the respect. And I think Eli Drinkwitz has done a good job with that. And, for me, who grew up with Mizzou football as well, this excites me. This game, it really excites me, and I wouldn't shock me if Mizzou pulled off the upset, because I think this is a mentally tough football team, and a one that is not afraid to wrestle in the mud with the Bulldogs. So I think it's going to be a very close game, and I think the possibility of an upset is there. I'm not ready to call it yet, but I like Mizzou's chances.
Yeah, and you do not want to fight somebody that's got nothing to lose, and that's how Missouri's gonna be coming into this game. It's nothing but upside for them. They're gonna get their best shot for sure.
Georgia's been
what a signature win that would be for Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh God,
I can't think of a bigger win if it happens from Mizzou, and they've had a few scalps on their wall from their Big 8 days, but this is a program maker for them if they can pull it off.
Yeah, Georgia, what is it, like 40-1 over the last couple seasons? Massive upset, and probably caused some chaos in Columbia, Missouri. And one other SEC game on the board as a big hitter game, a primetime game, if you will. LSU traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And ordinarily, it's like, but both of these two teams haven't been what we've expected to see this year, yet both still have a shot at winning the SEC West.
Yeah, this year, like, nobody's been the clear-cut, favorite. Like, we even had an episode named "Who is Number One." Bama just seems to be like laying there waiting, and they're slowly starting to chug upward like they normally do.
Well, I think Alabama's defense has been the most impressive improvement since day one. The offense, Milrow throws a beautiful deep ball. And when he's been able to do that, then that just completely opens up the rest of the Alabama offense. And that's what LSU is going to have to take away. And can their corners and their safeties take that away against Alabama? That's to me the key. LSU right now on the field, they've got as much talent, one first team, second team, third team, as Alabama. It's just they haven't put it all together, and they rely so much on Jalen Daniels
Coaching.
coaching. So if LSU continues to rely on Jalen Daniels throughout this game, then I like Alabama. But Alabama's got to have that one big chunk play to kick their offense in the gear, and if that happens, I like Alabama. Right now it's a toss up to me. I'm leaning more toward Alabama in this game, simply because they've been there, done that. They've won in Baton Rouge before. Nick Saban knows where the bones are buried there. But I
might
think,
even still have a shovel.
yeah, exactly. I kind of like Alabama in this game. I'm not ready to totally put all my chips in the middle for them, but
I agree with that. I kind of like Bama, but you look at the quick write up for the game, and all the offensive players they mention off the bat are Daniels, Diggs, Neighbors, all us you guys. Plus, you got to factor in the people in the bayou are going to start tailgating at 6 a.m.
Yeah, except the games in Tuscaloosa
Oh, my bad. I looked at that backwards. I'm a matchup dyslexic. It's in Tuscaloosa at Bryant Denny. Oh, yeah, that's going to give Bama the.
Well, now
when people
that
start
changes things.
It's 7 a.m. tailgate.
Well, they're still
for
gonna
a 7 p.m.
They're
game.
still gonna tailgate. They're still gonna they just won't be there.
Yeah, you just have a 12-hour pregame of drinking that's going to lead to a much louder stadium.
Yes. Get in the door price for this game, $147. And one thing I'll say about this game before we move on to the next is I think the key is going to be up front on the line, because Alabama has had a hard time protecting Jalen Milrow, despite his ability to make some connections on long touchdown passes this season. He's also been sacked an ungodly amount of times. Fellas, and Harold Perkins can get any pressure at all on him, that might change the game. The flip side of that is LSU's also had a hard time protecting Daniels, who's had to run an awful lot over the course of the season. He who protects his quarterback the best probably will get the W here. Just my opinion.
Alabama's coming off a bye week. So that to me, some of those offensive line woes are going to be solved. I know they've had some injuries there, but I don't discount any Nick Saban coach team with the assistants he has to let that go. And that's why I think Milrow is in for a big game. And if they connect on one deep ball or one chunk play, I think that just sways everything toward Alabama, because that's when their offense opens up. That's where the offensive line relaxes and doesn't miss very many assignments. And that's a big reason why I like Alabama in this game.
That's when the train doubles in speed coming down the track at you.
Exactly.
Yeah, scary game here in Los Angeles, primetime ABC game on Saturday. Number 5, Washington traveling to play USC. Washington could easily put up half of 100 here, if not more.
And so could Southern Cal.
Mm-hmm.
This is a defensive optional game, right? Because I just think SC's offense is just so good, but they couldn't stop the three of us. And Michael Penix is probably among the best quarterbacks in the country, and he can do it all with his arm, with his legs, and he's got some nice pieces out wide, and he's got some decent running backs. 60 could be both teams getting in the 60s. I mean, let's see if when USC and Washington play men's basketball, if they can put up the same type of points as the football teams may be putting up.
You know, I'm looking at the ticket price, and I think that's going to be the point total. Tickets as low as $91. That might be our game total there. Take the over on this game.
Yeah.
Not
All
that
right,
we
guys.
encourage betting in it anyway, unless somebody sponsors us.
All that being said, they're hiring a whole lot
Which
of
we encourage.
the schedule that really jump off the page and saying, oh, this needs to be broken down. So with that being said, maybe it's time to move on to
No. Wait, there's one game we need to mention because we have somebody that's from parts unknown that's got a interest in a top 25 game with North Carolina hosting Campbell.
oh, that guy who doesn't show up on the podcast very
Yeah.
often.
Do you think is he going to travel to that game? Like, can we get him to maybe do an update for us from the game?
I doubt it. In case you're wondering, we're talking about brother J-Dub, who is the PA voice for the Campbell football team, the Campbell Camels,
The Fighting Camels.
as they play North Carolina next week.
Was this a get well game for Carolina?
In theory, it should be.
In theory. Hey, I like Arkansas, Florida. After Florida's beat down to Georgia, Arkansas just fired their offensive coordinator, Dan Enos, brought in Terry Gaines as the offensive coordinator. He may let KJ Jefferson use his skills. And if that's the case, I kind of like Arkansas's chances against Florida. I mean, they got to run the table just to be bowl eligible. You know, why not just
Jefferson?
So they only let Kenny Guyton be offensive coordinator for a day and a half after they fired the predecessor.
No. You're right. I got the two names.
Oh yeah, Kenny. That dude's got some magic.
Yeah.
Like if you know him from Ohio State, he was a third string.
Guyton, yeah. I got the names mixed up.
He came in and would just quarterback would get hurt, he'd come in and win. And he was like a last minute signing day. Oh my goodness, somebody flipped. Let's take this kid from Houston. And he's a smart kid and he's lucky as hell too. So I'd like to see what he can do. I'm definitely gonna watch that game.
Yeah, and he's gonna let KJ Jefferson use his size and his skill set. I dare say he may be under center on the 4th and inches, which would probably bring a standing O to our Razorback fans, at least to this one. And the other game, Phil, let's not discount UCLA Arizona because the way that game's in Tucson and the way Arizona is playing right now, you gotta like the Wildcats' chances. And I mentioned UCLA and the fact that they're not as finesse as they usually are. They've got some physicality to them. So does Arizona, and they've always been a more physical. They've always been more of an SEC type team in the Pac-12. And this is a late night start in the desert, and weird things usually happen against the visiting team when they play at Arizona Stadium at night. So I think that could be an upset special.
Keep an eye out for that. I mean, pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, very evenly matched.
Both 3-2 in the pack.
All right, guys, it's time for our favorite segment of everybody's favorite segment. That is college football on a budget, where we look at games where the get-in price is what could arguably be said as roughly the cost of a soda at said ball game. Discount games, if you will, but games that if you're looking for something to do in the middle of the week or on the weekend and not have to break the bank to do it, these are the games to go to. Guys, we'll start off with Tuesday MAC action because you've got 2 games on the board, both under $10. Buffalo traveling to Toledo. You can get in the Glass Bowl for a whole $6.
Okay, so I kind of feel like I can only pick one MACtion game since they're at the same time.
Yeah. Be hard to get both of them despite the price. The other game, Northern Illinois traveling to Central Michigan, that game $9, and it'd be kind of hard to get from Toledo to Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and get both those games in.
Yeah.
All I can say is bring your sweaters and your hand warmers.
It does. You go south, you get a whole 2-degree warm up there, according to AccuWeather. But I'm going to go Holy Toledo.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Toledo as well.
Go to the game because there's nothing else to do in Toledo.
And on Wednesday, we've got more MAC action, including a $10 buy-in if you want to go down the highway to
They own the
Akron.
midweek, don't they?
Yep. Kent State traveling to Akron. A lot of Ohio action here for a low.
Okay. As a Youngstown State alumni, I hate both those teams. So I'm going for a grudge watch.
Grudge watch, $10 can't beat it. A good way to spend the middle part of your week.
No kidding.
2 1
They
and
at
7 teams.
Toledo?
I'm going just to boo the entire game.
What a midweek trip. First Toledo and then Akron. Man, it doesn't get any better than that.
The next
East and
day,
Midwest.
the next day we move out of the MAC and we go to some Big 12 action. TCU traveling to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. The buy-in price there, $9 at Jones AT&T Stadium.
I've been to that stadium before, but I'll go again.
I have too.
Just a high five TCU for the stuff that came out about them doing fake signs to full Michigan.
I hear Lubbock, Texas is lovely in early November.
Yes, it is a nice place.
Yeah, it's very
As former head coach Tommy Tuberville said of Lubbock, it's Baghdad.
It is, because if you've ever been there, and I've been there too, you go flying over a whole bunch of sand and planes, and all of a sudden the city just kind of pops up out of nowhere. We move on because that's the last discount game of the week. We move on to Saturday, where we have probably the lowest price game of the week, a 4:00 kickoff in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as the Charlotte 49ers and Biff Poggi travel to Tulsa to take on the Golden Hurricane. $2 to get in the door.
Okay, I was teetering, but you know what? I don't think I've seen a game at Tulsa, so I'm in. And
I've seen
like
several at
seats.
TU and high school games at Skelly Stadium as well. And it's an old, decrepit stadium right north of downtown Tulsa. Kind of similar neighborhood like where the Cotton Bowl is in Dallas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Take a rental car.
Yeah, exactly. So I may pass on that one. And if I'm in Tulsa, I'd probably be visiting family.
Tulsa coming off.
You'll make the trip, but won't go to the game.
Yeah.
Tulsa
I'm going.
Shellacking by SMU this past week, 63-10 or something like that. We've got some SEC action. You can go see some SEC football for the low price of $5 if you want to make the trip to Mississippi State. Kentucky facing off with Mississippi State, $5 buy-in if you want to go buy a ticket at Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville.
I'm gonna say no.
A Saturday in Stark Vegas? I'd take it.
Vegas.
For $5? How can you beat that price?
Yeah, but those are two SE teams that if they had a relegation, they'd both be bumped down to the Sun Belt.
Kentucky's not terrible.
They're not good.
They're bowl eligible, I believe.
Are they?
It's an SEC game for $5. Come on.
Yeah. How can you
Nah.
try that?
Nah.
Got better things to do.
We'll stay with
No, I'll tell you who I'm going to though. Hawaii at Nevada. Aloha.
Hawaii at Nevada. Ooh, $9 to buy in on that one. Go to McKay Stadium, buy a ticket or two or three in Reno.
And
Save
watch.
some money for
I'm
the-
just consistently taking Reno.
It's not a bad.
And you get to watch two very lowly mediocre football teams play that are in the Mountain West.
For a $9 buy-in, you don't have to stay for the whole game, though.
Is there slot
Indeed.
machines at McKay Stadium?
More than likely.
Oh, there we go. That's where we'll
And then
be.
you and I can go shoot craps or play blackjack
little
afterwards. and
blackjack.
Make our money. The only
It's-
downside is that since the game's not a Hawaii, you're going to miss the Chihu cam, where they put a They,
Can't have everything.
they put a boat over the people they shoot in the stands, and when they get you, you have to row.
And some afternoon discount football in Philadelphia as Navy travels to Philly to take on Temple at Lincoln Financial Field for $10. You too can get into that game.
In support your service academies.
Good point. I'd go.
Plus, there'll be plenty of seats at Temple because nobody goes to games there.
Yeah, they're playing at the Link.
They always play at the Link.
Big
Yeah, you
state.
can get 50-yard line seats.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll take my camera and a notebook.
Buy the
Oh wait,
$10
that's a
ticket.
different fan base.
Buy that $10 ticket. You never know where you might be able to end up considering the amount of seats that are in that stadium. Some more football in the Big 12 as Houston travels to Waco to take on Baylor. Tickets as low as $8 to get in the door. For Marty, you, that's just a little bit of a road trip.
I can actually make that drive pretty easily. I'm in. Hit a Bucky's on the way down. Yeah, that'd be worth it.
Yeah, the barbecue brisket sandwich is enough of a sell to me.
Okay.
I'm there.
You need to up your game. Go past the barbecue brisket and get the 3 meat.
3 meat. All right.
Life changing.
It's been a while since I've been to Wacky Waco.
And if you get that for lunch, you might skip dinner. It's Philly.
Enough
Okay. Good
said.
to know.
They are generous in their portions. That is quite the sandwich.
And one last bargain game, also in the state of Texas, as Western Kentucky travels down to Sun Bowl in the the southwestern town named El Paso. I was trying to think of the lyrics for the West Texas town of El Paso. That's what it was.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. I can't sing anymore or we'll get a big ding. I'm in.
$8.
I'm in. Anytime Western Kentucky's involved, I'm in. That is just a fun school. I hope they break out those helmets again because those are awesome.
Yeah,
All
Just
right,
be
I
careful
would-
where you stay at UTEP.
Yeah, I'll go. I want some fine Tex-Mex to go with it. So,
Oh, that is
That is
abundantly available there.
Tex-Mex
all right.
real estate down there.
I'm a sucker for Tex-Mex food.
You should come down for a visit soon, sir.
Believe me, I would love to. I've been to a few Tex-Mex places in the Metroplex before. It's fantastic.
There, I do want to throw one more game out from a division lower down in
Okay.
1AA. UT Martin at Tennessee Tech.
Yikes.
Big South OVC matchup for $9.
Yep.
Boom. We don't always find too many 1AA games, but that one got brought to my attention. So
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yep. The Battle of Northern Tennessee. Both
I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
Oh, I just want to get a UT Martin shirt though. So I'm hoping I can find one, even though they're playing at Tennessee Tech. I just want a UT Martin shirt just so I can have some swag with my name on it.
totally buy that. Totally buy that. Guys, I think we've covered most of the ground this week. Anything on your mind you want to talk about before we wrap things up this week?
Yeah, it seems like every other day something else is coming out with that scandal. We may have to do an extra podcast when that stuff finally, when the dust settles and they find out what actually all happened. That's just crazy.
And of course, it's all going to happen when Michigan is in the college football playoff, and it's just going to be a huge distraction.
I'm wondering how that scandal is going to affect the voters if it turns into something bigger than.
Doesn't
than it
matter.
currently
You're
is.
in the college football playoff poll now. They're still going to be among the top four, especially if they keep winning and win the Big Ten. But I just think it's going to be a huge distraction. I just think it's going to catapult Jim Harbaugh back into the NFL. And Michigan, this might be, as an Ohio State fan, you might like this. This might be a demise now for Michigan. Let's see, find somebody that has some coaching juice, like a Lance Leipold. This
Yeah,
might.
they're going to have if this ends up happening, going that road, they're going to have a hard time with
I know.
who's going to want to go into that athletic department and deal with the stuff that comes with that job.
I know, but we're living in an era where there's no bowl bans, there's no recruiting. You lose the loss of scholarships, or they're not going to take TV away from them. So I really don't know how it's going to seriously affect Michigan unless recruits are just like, I don't want to be part of that mess, and coaches are like, I don't want to be part of that mess. But as an Ohio State guy like you, you're probably
I don't think Ohio State. This might shock you, but I don't think this is Ohio State's year at all. Their line play is way too shaky. But just the fact that they're dealing with that, and the players that are part of Michigan have to deal with that just taints the legacy of it, and it's just silly. Man up and play.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That being said, let's put a wrap on things here for this week.
Support your local high school.
Yes.
Trinity Trojans.
Hopefully by the time we rejoin you next week for this show, we would have found what happened to the goalposts in Kansas, who won Bedlam, and a whole lot more. So make sure you tune in every week to the same place on YouTube. You can find our social media pages, of course, on the X, Twitter, Facebook, and various
onlinesportsguys.com.
onlinesportsguys.com, and other various places. For Brother Marty, for Brother Wilkie, I am Brother Phil. We are 3 of the OSG Sports college football team. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you again next week.
Please like and subscribe and help us find J-Dub.